Hello and welcome to another episode of Boldly Going. It is I, Merlin, sometimes known as Joe. I got the Film Fanatics here with me. I got Dan over here,
Hey.
Justin over there.
How's it going?
We're going to go back to The Next Generation, which is the best of the Star Trek series by many.
Oh, yes.
Dan doesn't really...
Just not yet.
Well, maybe. I don't know. We're going to go back and we're going to talk about Home Soil, and I'm going to go back to my resident TNG fan, Dan, to tell me about Home Soil. Give me a synopsis. Tell me what it's about. Tell me what you thought about it.
Well, essentially this episode is having the Enterprise away team go down to visit this team of scientists and engineers on this place called Valara 3, where no life has grown for decades. The base's leader clearly does not want them coming down.
For some reason.
But Picard insists and uses his Picard ways.
Speech.
And it happens.
Naturally.
Make it so.
And while they're there, Geordi and Data discover a laser responsible for the death of an engineer stationed on the base, and then it also tries to kill Data as it locks the door and tries to control the room. So eventually they discover the root cause is this microscopic life form, bring it back to the Enterprise to sort of study it, and it begins to grow. And typical Trek things happen. I thought this was pretty good. You know, I think the science of it's pretty cool. I honestly couldn't remember, but I thought it was a TNG episode because of Will Wheaton being in it, where, wasn't it just like last month where we did When the Bow Breaks?
Yeah.
Sort of, you know, on that planet they can't get pregnant and have children. Here, it takes it a step further. No life
is here.
Can, you know, life is there, but it can't be... they can't introduce life.
Oh.
I should say.
Yes.
There's people living on it, but
in stasis.
But
and
yes,
environments that are created artificially. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think in that respect, this is better than some of the Trek episodes. Certainly in the Next Generation,
a little smarter
category. I think it's a lot smarter than some. I like how they sort of start out with one thing and then go into another. They go to the planet to sort of discover the laser, but then they're like,
Dan,
oh, wait.
I'm sensing something, though.
What's that?
Like there's a butt or something.
No, not really.
Okay,
I
right.
actually really like a lot of what they've done with this episode.
Are you surprised about that?
It's Next Gen Season 1.
So you're cautious.
And really, I thought it was one of the better ones.
All right.
So, I leave it with an A-.
Oh, wow.
There really isn't much of a butt for this one.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, what do you think? I can tell by that face it might be a little different.
Yeah, I get a very different experience out of this one. So,
Okay, what'd you think?
well, let's go back to the initial Justin reaction we had a couple episodes back, where TNG pretty much had the tagline "It gets better."
It does. It does.
It's definitely a correct statement, and I think this is an important episode in terms of TNG establishing it's not just a direct ripoff of TOS. They get into a lot more deeper themes, a lot more complex scenarios and aspects like that. Definitely delving into the harder aspects of science fiction. The problem is...
There's your butt.
I knew there's a
Joe.
butt somewhere.
There was a definite butt. My butt comes early.
Okay.
That doesn't always mean good episode.
Okay.
In this one, once again, we get many an environmental overtone, which comes off as incredibly pretentious.
It was the 80s. Save the trees.
Save the trees, but be smart about how you're introducing the save the trees metaphor. And while I certainly do appreciate those concepts and those ideologies, I don't think they're exactly presented in a compelling and entertaining way. I think it's incredibly heavy-handed. I think it's executed with the wrong people. Once again, we have Riker taking the lead in ways that he has absolutely no business taking the lead.
Well, you had to hit on that babe.
What's he going to do?
By virtue of Rikerness. But
you know, it sort of had to happen.
The Kirk
like,
Stanley,
I'm
that's what he does.
seriously to the point of, like, you're number one, but why are you number one? Like, what have you done thus far that it has given you the right to be called number one?
He's number one because Picard has to be that moral center, and Riker has to be the more human guy that gets to have fun because Kirk.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, right. Kirk Spock. I mean,
That's what it is.
here we are.
Like, up to this point, I would argue Worf has done more than Riker has.
Well, you know, Riker gets the ladies.
We haven't seen Worf a lot though yet.
That's true.
Worf really gets his day later.
Yeah, much later.
Yes, after things happen. But
after they start introducing more Klingon stuff into the show.
Indeed. I do like the fact that Data gets a lot to do this round. I think the suspense there plays out fairly nicely. The mystery The mystery aspect is cool. I think it just comes into play way too late. Mm-hmm. Like, it should be like at the end of Act 1. It's at the midway point.
Okay.
And it definitely does suffer for that.
Some pacing issues. I could agree with that.
Like, when we actually get to, like, okay, here's what's actually going on, it's fairly interesting. It's just, if we got into there 10 minutes earlier, we could have, kept the pace up and gotten a better story out of it. As a whole, though, I think it's good in establishing the TNG identity that it needs. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a middling episode. I'll leave this one with a C.
Well, there's definitely a bit of a divide there, and I think Dan's hopeful. I think that's really what it is. Like, in the context of TNG, I don't think it's an A-.
Okay.
I really don't think that.
No, I'm sure that's true.
But
compared to the 16 episodes that have come before it,
most of it's garbage.
It's one of the better ones. I have to say.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. But I'm a little more with Justin on this one. I think that the cool thing about this one that I like it is an early, good, data-centric episode. Mm-hmm. You know, I like to see him active there. We get to see him exploring some scientific stuff there for sure. And I do like the mystery and the creature itself. I think it is kind of unique in that sense. But with that, you also get the heavy-handed environmental messages, which does kind of bog it down. And honestly, for me, it's just one of those things that, it's decent, but there's just lacking a lot of the energy and a lot of the exploration that you'd see later on in the show, which I'm more familiar with. Like, it's nowhere near as polished as I know TNG can be. Like, I think there's a good plot in here, but there are definitely some pacing issues that bother this for me. And once again, Riker also kind of useless.
Well,
like it's there are some early problems. Beard time.
I know. We'll grow it already.
Well, that's
cannot come soon enough.
Soon, but no, it's okay. I leave it with a B-.
Okay.
So I mean,
look,
that's hopeful.
At the end of, I'll watch every episode of Next Gen, resume this, and I'm sure you're right.
Because
it's probably not
just give you a little bit of context. Is like, if Best of Both Worlds, the two-parter is like an A+, and this is an A-.
Wow.
I don't
How
know.
do they stack up?
I'm just as an example.
I think I am hopeful, but I don't know. I from what we've seen so far in Next Gen, which has been real bad.
Well, as they often say, when
you're
looking at each Trek show, you kind of judge it within the context of its own show.
True.
So, if
thus far...
Look, and in terms of the pacing issues of maybe not delving into the mystery soon enough, I mean, I sort of liken that to the classic Simpsons bait and switch. The episode starts out, Bart wants to go to the fair, but then the real episode isn't about Bart going to the fair, just the entire first part is. Then you go to the commercial, and then the last part is about something entirely different, that we find at the fair.
Not to get too off track, but this could be a Simpsons cast soon. But
anytime I'm on it could be.
It could be a thing. But the early Simpsons stuff didn't do that as much. Usually it was more centric.
Yes, that's true.
When Family Guy came into the picture, Simpsons started to model some things out with that. And that's when that became more of a thing,
I guess.
I don't like.
But the part where Data gets locked in the room with the laser, what's going to happen, I'll be honest, when he came out of the room, I didn't know if he was the same Data. Knowing Trek, I mean, he could be Data lore. I mean, who knows?
He could be part of
and
the Data lore.
I thought that was intriguing.
Yeah.
Didn't really come to anything.
Wait a minute.
But for the moment, I was like,
Dan, am I hearing you correctly? Are you saying
I don't want
for
Lore
a
to come
second you
back.
thought we were intrigued that Lore might have been a possibility after the evil twin hate?
Just something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mutated somehow. Because he comes out and he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. People say that in Trek all the time.
Yeah.
You don't know.
But I'm also an alien that's going to eat
So, I don't know. I found that part a little bit intriguing. But
all right, well, I'm glad you liked it. And we're going to wrap that up with this one. We're going to go to DS9 next time. And, that's usually pretty good. So
typically,
well, hopefully it's good. I can't remember the next one. But leave us some comments when your thoughts about this one below and future episodes. And I'm going to say goodbye. You guys do as well.
Yep, see ya.
See you on the 9.
See you on the 9. It's a new one.